Hey, it's Storyworthy. Today on the show, broadcaster Adam Carolla talks about installing closets.
And I was told that I needed to collect the money and give the invoice to the homeowner, which is something I rarely did. We normally went into the home, installed the closet, and left, and the invoice and the deposit and the design and all that was sort of paperwork that the office did, but not that we handled. But in this particular case, I was handed an invoice and told where I had to go, and I just remember saying, oh, that's my street.
Today on the show, broadcaster Adam Carolla talks about installing closets. Stay close. Welcome to Storyworthy. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show or a new listener, welcome to Storyworthy. I hope you guys enjoyed the story last week by Matt Oswalt. Matt tells a really funny story about working as a page and a tour guide on the NBC lot in Burbank. Not when Johnny Carson was doing the Tonight Show there, but the same stages, you know, like where Jay Leno did the Tonight Show. And anyway, it's a great story, you guys. Go back and listen to this hilarious story by Matt Oswalt talking about giving a tour of the NBC lot. And it's just great. But not today. Today, stay with me, because today on the show, I've got broadcaster Adam Carolla talking about installing closets. So I know you're going to love this story. But before we get to Adam's story, I wanted to remind you guys that I'm bringing back stories from the last 12 years and calling these episodes Still Storyworthy, because the stories completely hold up, and I'm spending more time on my other show, My Life in 3 Songs. If you haven't heard My Life in 3 Songs yet, please do. Just go over to Spotify and find My Life in 3 Songs. It's a really great podcast where I talk to comedians about the 3 songs in their life that have impacted them. Not their favorite songs, but songs that paint a picture of the comedian and where they're from. So you guys check out mylifein3songs.com and follow the show on social media at My Life in 3 Songs. But right now, you guys, I want to bring on Adam Carolla, who told me this really funny story back on my 5-year anniversary of Storyworthy. So this is kicking it back a good 7 or 8 years, but the story totally holds up, and I know you're going to like it. Folks, wherever you are, put your hands together for the very talented Adam Carolla.
Well, let's see. I think this would have been about 1989. I was working at a place called ABC Closets, Always Better Closets, and still here in Burbank. And I say here because we're right on the border of Burbank. And I was working there with a bunch of born-again gangbangers. And this guy believed in rehabbing and rejuvenating the folks that, you know, at some point 9 months earlier had shoved a Phillips head screwdriver into the neck of somebody who asked him to do something, and he believed in second chances. But, you know, they never really talk about the people who have to work with the people who believe in second chances. Like they go, you know, hey, we got to take these inner city gangbangers, we got to give them a gig. And I get, that's great, you're in the office all day, but I got to go out in the field with these guys. And they're born again, and I imagine they found Jesus in prison. It seemed like that's where he hangs. I mean, I don't know that he lives in prison. I'm not saying Jesus is incarcerated. I'm saying if you want to find him, that's where he'll be. It's like, I don't know, for some people it's the Trader Joe's closest to their house, you know. Where's Roy? I don't know. I'll bet he's at the Trader Joe's over there in Pasadena, though. If he's not here, well, that's kind of how it is with Jesus, you know. Where's Jesus? I don't know. He's not in this studio. Probably in some prison nearby. So they found Jesus Christ there, and then when they got out, they shared the good news with this atheist about Jesus Christ. We would pray a lot, ask for traveling mercy, which I didn't know you could do. For me, that's a jinx when you're thumping a Bible and asking not to get into an accident as you're backing down the driveway. I'm just an ironic guy. I think that means that's the time the UPS truck T-bones you, right? But anyway, we're asking for traveling mercy and driving throughout the Southland, installing closets. It's it's a sort of depressing job in that, I don't know. It's like a single heavy set woman in her 50s who's never been married or gone to the prom, and her job is making ice sculptures for weddings. It's like, it's ironic. It's depressing, even though it seems good. So I would go to people's houses who are like Beverly, people had enough money to sink $8,000 into a closet. And I rode a motorcycle at an apartment with 3 roommates. I worked with born again gangbangers. I didn't have air conditioning, but my day job was to be at Candy Spelling's house putting a closet in, And it was always ironic because the closets were 10 times as nice as my apartment, and it was their closet. But this particular instance, I went solo. I was told I was going alone to install a closet. So instead of taking the big cube truck, I just took the van. And I was told when I was handed the invoice that I needed to collect the money and give the invoice to the homeowner, which is something I rarely did. We normally went into the home, installed the closet, and left, and the invoice and the deposit and the design and all that was sort of paperwork that the office did, but not that we handled. We just did the installation. But in this particular case, I was handed an invoice and told where I had to go and the money I had to collect. And I looked at the invoice, and I just remember saying, "Oh, that's my street." I know. Wow, what a coincidence. That's my street. And now here's where the problem started. This is the beginning of the problem. My street. I went all through high school and a year of junior college living on Hartsook Street in North Hollywood. And the next street over is Otsego Street, which was my now and then my first apartment on Laurel and Otsego, and I basically grew up off of Laurel and Hartsook Street. So when I said, "Oh, that's my street," somewhere between the drive from Burbank to what turned out to be Otsego Street, I had screwed up and flip-flopped my street with my old street. So the street I'm living on now was, in my mind, my street, but turned out it was anyway. So I had about 5-6 years in this one house living in the garage with my dad and stepmom. And then later on, I had a couple of years living in this apartment one street over. So obviously the my street part there's plenty of, it's open for a lot of interpretation and miscommunication. And it's something I never even thought of. Although I must have known because my mom lived at 11752 Houston Street in North Hollywood. And when my parents got divorced, my dad eventually moved into 11752 Hartsook Street, which was sort of convenient to my, less than ample brain back then. I never forgot the address. I always thought it was ironic they lived the exact same address 5 streets away. But anyway, I thought you were supposed to go to Florida and get as far away as you possibly could from your ex. But anyway, I went to the address on Otsego Street, and I knocked on the door. And again, I was just looking at the invoice and just looking at the address because the rest was math that I'd already done in my head. And I knocked on the door, and I think we used to call them Spanish maids back then. Now they're just squatty chicks from Guatemala, but back then we called them Spanish maids. I don't know. It's sort of noble. They probably even had outfits back then. But anyway, the Spanish maid answered the door. She was holding an infant, and I had 2 things going for me. I had a toolbox under one hand and a lot of personal momentum, which I believe if you have that personal momentum, you can walk right in the front door of the White House and do whatever you want. I literally, there's nothing that can stop you when you're not doubting yourself. Like I always have this theory that I think you could steal about anything if you didn't know it. Like you could walk into any store and grab any piece of electronics or an apple off a cart or whatever. If you truly didn't know it, like you truly were distracted or trying to get a price on it and then your phone rang, you could just walk out to your car and leave if you had enough. But we're also full of insecurity and doubt. We'd flop sweat. We'd be, who's the guy sweating through his shirt, looking over his shoulder all the time? Who's the junkie on aisle 9, So she just looked at me and she just went like, por qué, or something. And I just said, out of the way. I'm installing the closet. And she got out of the way. So she figured obviously there's something she didn't know. And the owners of the homes were not there. I'm assuming, I always just assumed that the parents were working and she was there looking after the infant. And I walked in and I walked right to the master bedroom. And again, this should have been one of those things. I opened the closet door and it was filled with gowns and shoes and every long hanging, double hanging, everything. And I thought, God damn it. That we always tell them to clean out the goddamn closet before we show up. But every once in a blue moon, they screw the pooch and they forget about it. And you don't want to see what your closet looks like unloaded in an angry fashion. Like this unloaded with malice, you know what I mean? Like ripping stuff off. It all went onto the bed. Everything just went onto the bed. And, that's what you get when you don't clean your closet out. And then popped off the old knotty pine shelf and pole, they would call it, and maybe even popped off the baseboard in there and proceeded to install the new closet. Now, people will ask, well, how did your custom closet fit inside this existing space when, in fact, you're at the wrong house? The answer to that is simple. Every house in the San Fernando Valley was built, between like 1951 and 1963. Like all those, the houses one street over in North Hollywood have about the same footprint and floor plan. The master bedrooms, you could hardly call it a master bedroom, but they're all the same. They'll have the same closet. They're about 2 feet deep. They're like 7 foot wide. Some of them have the bifolding, louver doors. Some have the mirror doors, but not only did the closet fit, but we always would leave the last bay of the closet to be sort of an accordion where I would cut the pole on the job site. And so it could be 32 inches or it could be 28 inches. We didn't have to measure it out exactly because we had some play in the very last bay. And so that's what I did. And I installed the closet. And I also remember installing bathrobe hooks in They wanted bathrobe hooks, and they said, in the master bathroom, there was 3 big chrome hooks that were pre-mounted on a piece of what would be either melamine or corian or something, whatever pre-fab, pre-vinyl coated that we would edge band, and then we would screw it to the door. And so that's what I did. And Cortron or melamine is what you would use. And then I would have left, and I was leaving. I packed up my tools, I put them in a van, and I did recall that I had to get paid. And normally I would have just been down the road and heading back to beautiful, smoggy, sunny Burbank. But I said I need a check to the Spanish maid who did not speak much English, hence the title of Spanish maid. And I said, I need some dinero. And she said, no. I said, a check. Someone must have left you a check. It was discussed. My boss told you, leave the check. No check. I said, dinero, no, come on. It's around here somewhere, right? They talked to the owner, and my boss told me the owner had the check, was left there, pick up the check. No. And I was showing her the invoice. Like, look, here's the amount. Here's the amount I need in the invoice. And she looked at the invoice and she said, And she walked over by the front door and she grabbed a piece of mail. Yeah. And she grabbed the piece of mail and she's like, look. And I was like, yeah, there it is. 11749. she goes, well, we're on aren't we? And then she started pointing at my invoice. It said Hartsook Street. And I was like, it's always the worst. I tell everyone, I think it's the worst part of life. The worst part of life is the discovery. It's not the part, like, you think about it. If you ever discover your car is stolen, it's not the pre-discovery part, because that means you still own a Camry. And in the post-discovery part, you're in kind of, I got to call the insurance company, I got to call the cops. Like, you're in a business mode. You know, I got to take care of this. That moment of like, I parked it right under the palm tree, right? There's it's got the transmission fluid link that always looks like Abe Lincoln's head right there. This is, you have that moment like, oh, shit, the car's, now 8 seconds later, you're fine. You're into, I got to call the insurance guy and I'm going to argue with somebody or woe is me or whatever it is. But it's not that painful. Like, I was looking at this invoice and I was just like, yeah, 175. And I just like looked up and I just went like, and she just went like, aye. And I was like, oh shit. I grabbed the, I'm not proud of this, but I grabbed the cordless drill. I put on reverse. I started running for the closet to back out every screw. The things were all like modular. You could like snap them together and screw them together. I started backing everything out. She started running for the kitchen with the child now, like extra cradled and protecting the child. And she was calling, I imagine, the owners of the house at work or somewhere. And it was pre-cell phone days, so only Dan Tana from Vegas actually had a cell phone back then, and that was wired to his car. But he kept his car inside his house, so kind of was a home phone. I got to work this out. Anyway, there it was, and I backed out every screw, threw everything into the van like a coward, ran back like the Grinch that stole Christmas, took the bathrobe hooks off the bathroom, took everything and jumped in the van and took off. I couldn't go too far because I could only go one street over to the exact same address. It's not like I could flee to Mexico or anything. So my escape route was just go up, turn right, go to the next street, turn right, go back 100 feet and park there. But I also knew, I was literally one street over at the exact same address. I was probably from the backyard, it's probably like 100 feet away from where the crime had gone down. I, to this day, still have no idea whatever happened, whoever happened. I have no idea what she told the owners. I have no idea what the owners could have made of what happened, but that was me installing a closet in the wrong house.
All right, you guys, thank you again so much for tuning in today. Adam Carolla is just a really funny guy, and I knew you guys would like his story. Don't forget to check out Storyworthy on social media at Storyworthy. And, of course, check out StoryworthyPodcast.com for more stuff coming up. And, by the way, you guys, Story Smash is back. That's right, Story Smash, the storytelling game show, is Friday, December 23rd at the Crow in Santa Monica. Check out StorySmashShow.com for more information. And follow the show on Instagram at Story Smash. All right, you guys, one more time on behalf of the very talented Adam Carolla, my name is Christine Blackburn saying, make it a story-worthy week.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy Podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at StoryworthyPodcast.com.